One missile got through. That's the headline the Aegis community hates and needs. You're about to see how a $2.5 billion destroyer fired $24 million SMSIXS at a 12-missile C-802A wave and still took a hit. We'll walk the intercept timeline down to the 12.7 nautical mile first kill, then dissect the gap that let a sea skimmer punch the deck, rack up $28 million in repairs, and put 2 sailors in critical care. If layered defense is your religion, this is the stress test. Stay, because the failure point is the lesson. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video.
It appears to be a show of force days after the U.S. military attacked this boat in the southern Caribbean, allegedly carrying drugs from Venezuela. This morning, in what U.S. officials call a highly provocative move, the Pentagon says 2 Venezuelan military planes flew near a U.S. Navy ship. The Pentagon last night claiming the Venezuelan flights were designed to interfere with our counter-narco-terror operations.
One missile slipped past 11 kills. The question isn't pride. It's physics, geometry, and timing under a minute and a half. USS Knights closes with 2 stalled tankers, 34 nautical miles off a hostile coast. A Venezuelan frigate, Bolivar 213, answers with a clean, deliberate 12-missile C-802A sea skimmer launch. No warning shots, just a tight ripple designed to crowd the radar horizon and drive the defender's timing window into seconds. CIC throws to full Aegis. Consoles glow. Watch teams lock into roles. Tracks bloom low and thin on the scopes, hugging the sea where clutter is thickest. The clock says under 90 seconds to impact. Knights chooses mass over thrift, oversubscribing the problem. 20 SMSIXS out of the cells, each one a $4 million bet that time on target beats time to think.
In terms of deploying the F-35s, it's because of those 2 F-16 fighter jets from Venezuela that came close to a U.S. destroyer.
Especially how it seems to have ramped up, given that I think tensions with Venezuela had largely been under the radar for many Americans.
Not only about the legalities of calling in a strike on a suspected drug smuggler's boat, but what is the overall purpose of the operation?
Here's why the first kill doesn't happen far out. Sea skimmers ride 5 to 10 meters off the surface. The ship's radar has a horizon, a hard limit set by Earth's curve and antenna height. At low altitude, the contact simply doesn't exist to the radar until it crests that curve. Add sea state, spray, and sidelobe clutter, and you get a thin detection line that fattens late. 12.7 nautical miles from the hull is where geometry finally gives you a stable solution, not because the system is shy, but because physics draws the sight line that close. The intercept geometry looks odd if you've never flown it. The C-802A stays flat and dirty, skimming the top of the waves, minimizing reflection. The SM-6 goes high energy, lofting into a fast arc. That arc buys speed, angle, and time for mid-course updates. Those updates matter when the inbound weaves to break track. The missile seeker doesn't need a perfect picture early. It needs a clean terminal handoff. Sub 2 seconds of hard lock at the end, then a violent turn and a proximity fuse that trades distance for certainty. Shot doctrine here is shoot, look, shoot, but the look slices thin. You fire pairs or weighted singles. Wait for breakwire cues and radar drops. Then allocate the next round.
Coast of Puerto Rico, where he arrived this morning. So the Iwo Jima's got around 2,500 Marines on board. I've been on that ship from the Pentagon, by the way, on the squadron of F-35s. Not sure if they've been deployed yet, but they're among the most advanced air to surface. And you put all those things together, and this is an attacking force. This isn't a defending force. It may be a deterrent.
With a dozen inbound and seconds to spare, look becomes a heartbeat, not a pause. Oversubscribe early, trim late. Waste a missile and you burn money. Save a missile and you risk a gap. There's no free lunch. Speed and profile set the knife fight. The C-802A isn't the fastest threat out there, but low flight stacks the deck. That path steals radar range, hides in clutter, and arrives with little warning. The SM-6 lives on energy and sensors, sprinting in a loft that lets it fall onto the target from above, where radar sees cleaner and angles are in its favor.
Is there a timeline? Is there an objective? The president, like others before him, has got quite a lot of leeway when it comes to ordering, a means of identifying the threat, warning the people on board what was happening, then members of the Coast Guard. How did you ID the individuals on that boat? Why did those forces not follow sort of traditional interdiction?
11 intercepts prove the math. 1 leaker proves the margin. Where can the gap open without blaming ghosts? Start with the radar horizon. A dip in sea state between crests can hide a contact for precious seconds. There's a clutter window close aboard where the ship's own wake and sprays throw chaff into the radar's eyes. Decoy and chaff cycles take hands and seconds. Pop too soon, and you mask your own radar. Pop too late, and you draw the thread into the deck. Add atmospheric ducting that bends radar and signal paths, and you get a late pop-up that compresses reaction time even more. Any one of those can shave your timeline. Stack 2, and you're chasing. Then the human beat. 1 penetrator hits aft. Shock, grit, a short-lived fire, shrapnel that finds bodies before bulkheads. 2 sailors end up in critical care. Others walk away deaf in one ear or with burns that will scar. Damage control moves fast. Hoses, foam, boundary cooling, and the ship holds way. The tally lands hard, dollars and steel, but the crew keeps the lights on and the sensors up. So the defense worked and didn't. 11 kills kept the hull in the fight. 1 sea skimmer wrote the day's headline. Layered defense buys odds, not certainty.
People were killed in that strike, and the Pentagon is also sending 10 fighter jets to Puerto Rico to carry out operations.
Yeah, well, tense would be an understatement, Nancy. This is the largest U.S. military buildup in that region. Genuinely.
The lesson isn't bravado. It's allocation, timing, and how thin the line gets when a radar sees only what physics lets it see. Now comes the fork. After contact, do you strike, or do you hold fire to frame the narrative? Retaliation signals reach. Restraint signals control. A single hit on a deck sends a message far beyond the splash zone, and every ship in range reads it in real time. Layered defense buys odds, not certainty. 1 sea skimmer can still steal the headline and set the day's tone. You plan, you allocate, you fire in pairs, but probability leaves seams. That's the lesson, and it's a sober one. If you want more hard-nosed breakdowns of real intercept timelines and failure points, hit the subscribe button and comment how you'd adjust doctrine, more shooters, different sequencing, or electronic deception first. Comment your choice below. What would you do with 90 seconds, 20 interceptors, and 1 leaker hunting the deck? Hold 2 in reserve, or spend them early to clear the board. The next playbook is already being written.